We on? Hello. Are we on here? Oh, we are. Good.
We are
Hi,
here.
everyone. I don't know. It says one there, but I guess that could be one of us. But we'll get started. Hi,
That would
everyone.
mean hi, one person. No.
Hello. Hi, everyone. We have some people coming on. Barbara, Improving Everything Community. So welcome to one and all. My name is Michelle Ray, and my Substack is called States of Matter. And I also have I'm sorry, I'm moving things off my screen. I also have a writing community as part of my Substack. And this month, we've really been focusing on the type of personal writing it's called lyric, but we just kind of refer to it as fragmented writing. So the idea behind that is that, when you're telling your story, it doesn't have to be curated, right? It doesn't have to have a special structure, a beginning, middle, and end, right? We often tell our personal stories um, in the way that we remember them, right? We're kind of mimicking our memory, which oftentimes is out of order, based on images. And so when we tell our story, when we tell personal stories, if we can sort of focus on those things, oftentimes it can be a very authentic way to tell the story. So I wanted to have Lynn Broderick on. I'll let her introduce herself, but the reason I wanted to have her on is because her Substack really focuses on this type of memoir writing, and really her last few pieces have been this kind of fragmented style. So I will let her introduce herself, and she can tell you a little bit more about what she writes, and then I'll talk about the format of our conversation. Go ahead, Lynn.
Hi, I'm Lynn Broderick. My Substack is called Writing Unfiltered, and that's pretty much what I do. I write unfiltered stuff about my life. If you read my stuff, it's like being a fly on the wall to my life, current and past. I am a Nora Ephron wannabe. And I've been here for about 7 months, or no, 10 months. I
Good.
started in
Yeah.
July.
Yeah, I felt like we kind of started around the same time. I think I started a little bit before you, but okay. So the format that I wanted to use maybe something a little bit different. Like as always, lives are really about conversations and kind of revealing more about the guest and the host through conversation. So I wanted to do something like a little bit more fun and interesting, and this is called rolling the dice with Michelle and Lynn. Can you tell I'm a teacher? So basically, I have 6 topics. I'm going to roll the dice, and whatever number um, comes up corresponds to a topic. And Lynn and I will just talk about that topic. Of course, everyone in the audience is welcome to like post their ideas about the topic, answer it, think through the idea yourself. So these are the topics: identity, self help, kicking ass, falling apart, body time, and right or bust. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I feel like it's like playing the lottery or being at Vegas, one of the
Let's
two, or
see.
both.
Well, I really do like craps. Like when I go to Vegas, my husband and I are like constantly at the craps table. So
Oh,
yeah, that's my thing. All right. So we got 5. 5 is body time. What your body taught you the hard way.
mm-hmm. Do you want me to
Yeah, go
start
ahead.
talking?
Mhm.
Well, I thought about this a little bit before, and I was a sugar addict when I was a child. We had a whole bunch of stuff, especially when we moved out to the country. We had every single possible thing: Oreos, candy, ice cream, whatever we wanted, and I just shoveled it all in. I think I didn't know I had anxiety as a child, and I think that just fed my anxiety, so it became like a snake feeding upon itself. The more anxious I got, the more sugar I ate. I actually That's one of the I've written about that, my sugar addiction. But it took me, a lot of years. I had a little bit of experience with eating disorders in college. I did have a very high metabolism, thankfully, when I was eating all that junk as a child. But going into college and then drinking a lot of beer and late night snacks, coming from the country, we didn't have delivery pizza. that was like a new thing. So I was, oh my God, you could have the pizza delivered to the dorm, late nights, subs with cheese, just oozing. And so I did put on weight there. I had never really worked out before that. And so I really learned about, oh, this body, um, this is like something that reacts to things I do, and it also like affects my mood. It took me many years really to learn that, but once I decided to try to get away from the eating disorder, I'm a research queen, and I did a lot of research on how to gain weight back because I had gotten to probably less than 90 pounds, and I'm 5'6" and
Wow.
a half. And I never really, I mean, I couldn't get over 100 pounds eating a lot when I was in high school. So, it was just like, oh my God, I just like realized all these things about my body and how what I put in my body and how I moved really affected my mood. So it took me many years to kind of get beyond that. And finally, now I'm a total health nut, and I've learned that healthy food makes me feel good. I mostly put like 95% of what I put into my body is going to have nutritional value. I very good nutritional value,
Mhm.
but I also still enjoy, ice cream and cheese and things like that. And just, learning about moderation, and it's totally affected how I feel, and more of, certainly I have anxiety, but I've noticed that what I eat can impact my anxiety and my mood overall, and just how I feel, how much energy I feel. So it's been a lifelong process for me. And that's my story.
Yeah, I was going to say that it sounds like it's something you've kind of learned in stages over the course of your
Yes,
life. And I feel like
definitely.
that's probably pretty typical. I mean, some people
Hmm.
have like a moment of reckoning, and mine was more like that, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to look at our audience here. So Marlena says, "My body is teaching me how important it is to listen to it."
Hmm. Very
Great.
true.
Yeah. I mean, our body does tell us things, whether it's through like feeling pain or, there's so many ways that our body communicates with us. Um, so mine is, I mean, I think my story is kind of like a lot like yours in that, you learn to listen to your body, as you age and as it becomes like more necessary to
Hmm.
listen to your body. It's like your body starts speaking louder and it becomes harder to ignore. And mine was kind of like that. So I used drugs and alcohol for many years. And then about my late sort of 30s, I had kind of a pretty traumatic event and I just kind of stopped cold. And
Mm.
now I was in a program, and so it was probably like a year or two into my sobriety, and I was in a yoga class, and it was a yin yoga class, right? So it was one of those classes, where you hold a pose for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was in some kind of hip opening pose. I don't remember what, and I had this moment where like I heard my body, like my body was wanting to like have this conversation with me, and I mean, it like really felt like a reckoning. It felt like my body was saying like, why have you done this to me, all these years. And even though like at that stage I had been pretty healthy, it took it took me a long time to catch up because I felt like so much guilt and so much shame for, like the way I had treated my body and the
Hmm.
like how I had treated myself. And so it was like in that moment in that yoga room, I felt like I had this like communication with my body. It was like body, mind, spirit,
Right.
and we all just kind of came to an understanding that like none of it was meant to hurt, the other part. And but now it was just time to like listen, listen to each other.
Right. Oh, that's pretty
So
cool.
yeah, so it was really like powerful in that moment. And I think every time I do yoga or every time I like have a quiet moment, I really like try to connect to that. Like sometimes you have to like settle down and be quiet and to connect to something deeper, like a deeper part of your body.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yoga is beautiful, and I'm happy. I discovered it because a friend of mine had a like she won. like a packet of classes at an auction, a live silent auction or something.
Mhm.
And she wasn't going to go, so she gave it to me. And I don't know, maybe I did yoga a couple times, but I never really got into it. And I found the best teacher, the best studio. That was probably over 20 years ago. And it's like that's been the constant in my life through everything I've been going through since. And it's like yoga as that constant, it just brings a certain level of peace, but it just brings you into all the, out of your head and into your body, and just it's so opening. I love yoga.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it means union, right? And it's really about kind of integrating the entire
Hmm.
self, the mind, the body, the spirit, soul, everything.
Right.
So, yeah, I always recommend yoga to everyone, especially, as you age. It can be really helpful for the body, particular.
I wish they'd teach that in school.
And they really should. Like, I'm a teacher, and
Hmm. I
I
think
I
that would
would,
make a difference.
yeah, I try to teach just like a little bit, like just
Hmm.
breathing. Even just teaching kids how to extend their breath. Slow down, and they can really you can really feel that right in the moment. You can feel how just like taking a couple of deep breaths will immediately like lower your like blood pressure and just make you a little bit more calm.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, they should definitely teach more than that. I agree.
I think the world would be at peace if we had yoga
Yes.
required by everybody in the world.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna read from Marlena. It said food is so important. Wait, food is so important. Understanding what you specifically need from protein, fiber. I can't wait to speak to a dietitian in June. Yes, that's a great point. I mean, food it's like it's food, but it's medicine. And I think it's particularly
Hmm.
women, like we have such a fraught relationship with food. I think women, especially like of our age, like I can remember being in the 80s and like just dieting so hard just to get it fit into my little Calvin Klein.
Yeah, like let's skip breakfast and lunch and then eat some dinner and
Yeah,
then drink
it
some
was.
alcohol.
Yeah, it was just so so unhealthy. So I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
times have changed, and I feel like women, young women now, they still have um, their own issues in the society to deal with. But I
Oh,
don't know.
for sure.
I
I'm
feel
glad
like
I grew
things
up
are.
when I did, not
Yeah,
in this
because
era,
yeah,
for
we're
sure.
not like having to like deal with seeing our image all over the place and all of
Hmm.
that. So, okay, let's roll. All right, another
What's it gonna be?
six. Six, right or bust.
Right
What?
or bust?
Yeah, what writing costs you, or anything about writing, whatever.
Well, I mean, in my writing, I sometimes I go through and I think about, well, and I don't want to do this, but I can't help it. Uh I've been writing a lot about grief, let's just say that.
Yeah,
Because I've been going through a lot of grief. And then I actually wrote a post. I'm not really a grief writer, and this is only temporary. Because I didn't want people to think that's all I write about. It just happens to be what I'm going through at the moment. So then I'm thinking I should mix it up a little bit. And, I wrote a poem not too long ago about my mom's affection or lack thereof, and the few times I remember her affectionate moments, and there were more of them in this final year, and especially the final weeks and whatever else.
yeah,
And so I wrote that and I thought, well, maybe I should hold off on publishing this because maybe people have had enough. So, but then I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said, you know what, if this is what you're going through, that's what you should write about. This is your vulnerability. This is your life. And don't, maybe that's what people want to know right now.
right.
Don't think about whether it's too much for somebody to deal with.
Yeah,
So, and then I'm trying to get the perspective of I'm writing for myself and I'm really writing for my son because just I notice in my parents aging and everything that they're forgetting things. And especially my mom, she used to be the keeper of all stories. She would tell people, I'd bring a boyfriend home or a friend, and she'd go into stories from my childhood that were totally embarrassing. But she would always remember like a detail. And I recently, or maybe in the last few months of her life, I was trying to get her to answer some questions, and the things that she would remember before, like on the spot, her answer was, I don't remember. That was a long time ago. She never said any of that. So I want to get my stories out there. Not necessarily, I mean, I love that people read my stuff. Sure, I'd love to have tens of thousands of subscribers, but I want my son to have these stories, and because I don't think you realize when you're young that your parents have stories, and that really, it's a really great way to know them. And later on, it gets to be too late, and then they're gone, and you're like, shoot, I should have asked more questions. So if my son wants to know about me, that will be there for him.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer, and would be a great memoir title, by the way, "The Keeper of All Stories."
Oh, I'm
Doesn't
going
that
to
sound
do
like an
that.
amazing memoir you'd want to read? But no, that's such a great point because like I love my grandmother so much. She died when I was, I don't know, it was during COVID, like whatever, 6 or 7 years ago,
Mm,
and I didn't know that much about her, and
hmm.
there's just nothing, like there's no stories. I mean, there are a few here and there, but it's just really nice to have things written down. Like I really wish
Right.
I would have asked her to tell more stories because it's a legacy, and it teaches you not only about your family, who that person was, but about yourself too,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, like I was talking to Marlena about this, like her grandfather. Like she's really like working on some like a memoir type piece of writing with about her grandfather, who, like the two of them are just so similar, despite the
Hmm.
fact that they're in these different generations, and so I think that's such a strong and authentic motivation for writing. And I mean, that's
Hmm.
probably why people resonate with your writing, because you are, writing for real, authentic reasons.
Hmm.
And I did want to ask you a little bit about like the style. Like I noticed both of your pieces about your mother were in this sort of fragmented, like almost like these notes like stitched together. So why did you
That's
decide?
exactly what they were.
Yeah. Why did you decide to publish it in that way? And how do you think that is more um, revealing than if you had like curated a little bit more?
Well, as so I found out, let me start here. I'm going to start all over with that answer. Blah, blah, blah.
It's fine. Go ahead, start over.
So I learned about my mom having cancer last February
Hmm.
of 2025. My dad died in April. I started writing here in July.
Yeah.
Um, I was writing notes along the way, little things that would happen with my mom. Um, all of 2025 and
Hmm.
then into this year.
Yeah.
And I decided that writing about her final, leg of the journey, if you will, I
Yeah.
would just compile all of those notes. I have an app that I use, and I was able to search mom. I had to do like space mom space, otherwise I get every single word possible that had MOM in it.
Yeah.
I found all of the notes that way,
Hmm.
and I pieced them all together. I had to edit them down, but I wanted to. It was my way of processing, and I didn't really say to myself, "Hey, why am I doing this versus my normal way?" It
Yeah.
just was a different technique because I took all of these notes that had dates on them,
Hmm.
and I basically stitched them all together. And I did add some things in there, some details along the way. I didn't write notes on every single detail.
Right.
And I had to cut it back a lot. I mean, it ended up being, I think, over 5,000 words, which is why I broke it into two
True.
parts. But the
Yeah.
second part was 4,000 plus words. But those were like her final 7 days. And it was pretty traumatic. Um, and I'm like, I don't know if anybody's really going to want to read this, but I it helped me to get through it because it was so traumatic for me. I had, you have this PTSD after some of this kind of stuff happens. Watching your parents decline anyway is very difficult. But, she was great really for an entire almost an entire year, and everything just fell apart at the end because she had that cancer, but she didn't have pain. She didn't start getting super confused until the very last week. Um, Certainly she was down to nothing. She was like the tiniest thing. Her legs were like spindles, but
Oh,
the whole you think somebody with cancer is going to die in pain. She died in pain, but the pain was because she broke her neck from falling because of
oh,
the brain cancer was throwing her balance off, and she was
yeah,
so fragile and everything. So anyway, it's a very pleasant story that I wrote about my mom dying. Um, but that's how it kind of came about in that format. I've never done anything like that before, and it was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. So that's
yeah,
about as much thought that went into it.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think writers have a sense of what they want to put out, right? And
Hmm.
maybe you didn't want to like go back through and like create a different shape to the story,
Right.
like so for me, what I felt like reading it was like experiencing the whole process
Hmm.
with you, the writer, and which is powerful in and of itself, right? And I think writers oftentimes will use this sort of like fragmented structure, like, and without curating the beginning, middle, and end, because they can't find the beginning, middle, and end. There is
Hmm.
no beginning, middle, and end, right? It's like
Right.
your pain, you are trying to share an experience with the audience and with your readers, and you just shared it in this way.
Hmm.
Um, that happened to really, I think, really reflect like what you were trying, like the intention that you had, I think, at least as from a reader's perspective. But um, all right, I just wanted to check in with our audience. And Marlene also said, by the way, you both are beautiful women. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
shucks.
you know,
Thank you.
and thank you all for joining us. Again, I'm Michelle Ray. I guess it says this on our on the thing, but and States of Matter and Lynn Broderick, and we're just kind of chatting. We're playing a game called Rolling the Dice, where we're just having conversations about things that are really important: identity, self help, kicking ass, and falling apart. Those are the two
Oh,
left.
we only did two. There's got to be a couple more than that.
Yeah,
If
there's
my math
four.
is right. Where's your
Yeah,
scientist husband? He should help us with the
I
math
know
here.
we've done two. We've done Body Time and Writer Bust, but I haven't done Writer Bust. I didn't do my writing
Yeah, you need to say
answer.
what your
Um,
situation is.
I think what writing cost me, I mean, really just like a whole shit ton of time.
Yes.
Right? Like I started really getting more serious with my writing like in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, I've always been a writer, but I was just like writing in my journal, writing poetry, just whenever. Like I wasn't making it a big part of my life, or giving myself deadlines. But once I started my memoir, I was really like putting a lot of pressure on myself, like deadlines and writing and rewriting, and it just takes a lot of time.
Hmm.
Like I was talking to my husband last week. We did like a little weekend getaway, and he's like, I feel like you've been in some ways kind of like absent, like you were there, but you were kind of gone a lot because you were
Hmm.
so you were so into this writing, and you were also so into that particular time of your life, right? Because I was writing about a 10-year span when I lived in the Middle East, and it
Oh,
was it was a long time ago. It was like 10 years ago. So I really had to like almost like immerse myself in that time
right.
frame, just to and the more I wrote and rewrote, the deeper I was getting into it, right? And so like sometimes it was triggering me. I was like reliving those situations that happened at that time. So
Hmm.
I mean, I think any writer that, especially like a nonfiction writer that's really digging into their own story, like it costs you like security, right? It costs you um, pain. It
Right.
costs
Yeah.
you a lot
Things
of,
are going to bubble up that you're writing about for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. But I think in the end of the day, it's worth it, because as you write, you process, like you said, like writing is in a way like its own value. Like it helps you process, but then
Right.
it also gives something to the reader, right?
Hmm.
So That's my
Let me
writing.
ask you this, because the other
Sure.
thing that it's costing me is showering. I showered today, did my
Yeah, you
damaged hair,
do. You look
but
good. No, it's
I'll
like
I'll
when
be
you're
like, "Sorry, honey, I've been writing today." And the day that I post is usually the worst because I just like it's almost like I have to set a timer and I keep meaning to, but I keep forgetting. So that I get up to go to the bathroom or I get up to stretch or and I find myself like I'm writing and then I'm right and I'm like scrunching down the more I'm doing, and so the end of the day I just look like I went through a tornado or something. And I feel so bad for my husband. He's a handsome, nice, charming man. And it's like, I wonder if he wonders what he got himself into. Imagine if I wrote a novel or something, which
I
I
know,
did
it's like
start, but my
Dr.
God,
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
it'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an immersive process, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's a good sign. I think that's a sign that, you're really doing something that you love. What do they
Right.
call it? Like being in a flow state when you're, just in the middle of something and you're like time slips away and you're just like so immersed and
Hmm.
I mean I get like that too. And I think it's a beautiful thing to feel that energy and
Right.
to know that you're creating something that others are going to read and
Hmm.
benefit from, and you're also benefiting. So okay, let's do this.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, 4. This is going to be a hard one. Falling apart. The moment that wrecked you.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be a moment, but just falling
Well,
apart.
I don't think I've ever seen anything as bad as somebody taking their last breath, especially when
Yeah.
it was my dad.
Oh.
That was a rough day. I'm glad that I could be there for it, but it wasn't like they say people, you know, they are going out peacefully. It didn't feel peaceful at all.
Mhm.
It was just kind of like, damn, this is really terrible. So that was something that stuck with me. I had trouble going to sleep for days, for nights on end.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to get that image out of my brain. And then, my mom certainly as well, but I had a different relationship with my dad. But those two, just experiencing that, those were things that, and then I think I fell apart doubly after my mom died because she was keeping me kind of busy,
Right. Mhm.
with all her stuff. And then it was like, oh, now I have both of them gone. So it was just like, that's been one of the worst things. That and when the last of 6 infertility IVF attempts didn't work. That was I'd drive home playing the Titanic music, Celine Dion, which was
Oh
just
my.
like I'd be crying driving home for like 40 minutes and just crying like, oh my God, the grief involved. But I ended up with adopting a baby, my son, who's just
Oh.
wonderful. Had I known all that, I would never have gone through all that.
Oh,
So
that
those are
process.
three falling apart things. So
Yeah. I mean that process of IVF. I've never gone through it, but it's just so I've just heard so many stories, friends, it's expensive, it's just draining emotionally,
oh, and your hormones. Talk about
physically.
if you had ever PMS or menopause symptoms. This is taking it to a whole new level. You're just putting your hormones through all this stuff that's not even close to being natural. I was
Yeah.
a bitch on wheels and I had 2 young women, well, I was young at the time too, so, reporting to me, and I apologized to them later on LinkedIn, like, "Hey, sorry I was a bitch during that time." I'm sure they were ready to kill me. But anyway,
Oh, well, I mean, it is what it is, right?
yeah, it is. How about
Well,
you?
sorry, I was like, oh God, sorry,
Oh, where'd you
lost
go?
myself. There I am. Okay. I put do not disturb and I'm still getting all these messages. It's
Oh,
annoying.
huh.
Okay. Okay. So falling apart. I mean, the thing that just eclipses every other moment in my life, I think is giving birth. I mean,
Oh,
that's just, you know, the time leading up to it, you're so like immersed in this idea, like making a birth plan, and you just have this envision of how it's going to go. And then when it happens, it's like like your birth plan is like you're like blowing your nose on it, you know. It's like you just want it to be over. And it was, I mean, not only was it hard, I mean, I'll spare everyone the details. It was like 30-hour labor, then I had to do a
Oh
C-section.
no.
But it was like once I had him, it was I mean, of course it was so amazing and you have your child, but it's like it's so hard to go through that experience and have like this sleep deprivation and then taking the baby home
Hmm.
and there's more sleep deprivation and
Yeah.
it was just like I was 44 when I had my child and I'd done a lot of
Wow.
other hard things like I traveled all the time by myself like I've lived in countries and alone, so many things that most people would consider crazy or hard, but like
Hmm.
those things are nothing compared to having a child, and then also like I experienced postpartum
Oh.
anxiety, so I think that was even worse. Like so with postpartum anxiety, you experience these what they call intrusive thoughts. So you will like envision your child on fire
Oh
or
my
like
God.
extremely, I mean not everyone has feels the same thing, but it's like an extremely graphic like depiction of your child in harm's way.
Wow.
And it's ultimately because this anxiety, like so your brain is like reacting to all the problems, all this
All the things that could
dangerous
possibly go
scenarios
wrong.
that could happen and then it's like showing you in your mind and it's just
Wow.
so
I never heard
disturbing.
of that.
Oh my god, it's the worst. It was
Yeah, it
so
sounds like
disturbing.
it.
But yeah, so I think I really fell apart. Like from the time I had him to like really first 3 or 4 months. And then I kind of like really started talking to my husband about it. I got some treatment, started taking him to the gym. It's like I got to get back into my life because I
Right.
was really like I was kind of isolating, and I think that of
Oh
course
yeah, that's not
makes
good.
yeah that makes it all worse.
Right.
But yeah, that was rough one.
It sounds terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's 11 now, and so it's fine.
Oh.
I'm sure I'm gonna enter the stage where he's horrible because he's a teenager, but
Oh,
he'll
the
probably
eye
still.
rolls.
Oh
Just
yeah,
wait.
yeah, the eye rolls and the snark. He's already kind of snarky. Like he's like this little snarky tone of voice.
Ooh,
But, all right, let's do a couple more, and then we might need to get going. Oops, there's four again. We just did that. I guess we have to. It's kind of cheating if we're not. I've just rolled three fours in a row. All right, there's a three. Kicking ass. So this will be a fun one. Kicking ass.
kicking ass.
Kicking ass. What you have stopped apologizing for, or literally a time when you kick someone's ass. Actually, that could work too.
Boy, I've never kicked anybody's ass. I got my ass kicked. Does that work?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I
Kick.
got beat up by my best friend. This is in after senior year of high school. My
Wow.
and I haven't written about this yet, so this is a little sneak peek.
Yeah, you
But my
should.
best friend from high school, her sister beat me up because she thought I was messing around with her boyfriend, who
Oh,
was a downstate wrestler, football player, whatever, who he and I went off to smoke some pot. Yes, I smoke pot. Um in a cornfield, and he basically had his way with me, kind of forced himself upon me.
yeah,
And I didn't really ask for that, but
yeah.
she ended up, I tried to explain what happened, and I got ostracized from my best friend's house because of it. When, I mean, it kind of like was, I mean, somebody has said it's rape. I don't know if it qualifies. I was not necessarily looking for that. But
Yeah.
so she ended up, I saw her at a party with him, and she had his class ring on, and she basically beat me up on
With the
the
ring.
street.
Oh my god. And like in front of
And the
everyone?
other kids were watching, which were all boys, while this happened. So
Oh,
I got my
no.
ass kicked, and I ended up with a black eye, and my parents didn't even ask me about it. Like, oh, I think I said I bumped my eye on the mirror or something like that. I don't know.
Ran into the door
Yeah.
with my eye. Oh my
And I
god.
had a black eye. Luckily, it went away before my first day of college.
Wow. That would be a great story to write about. You should definitely write about that.
Yeah.
I mean, because well, there's a deeper story of a sexual assault there. It sounds like so. I guess there could be two stories.
Yeah. Well, in fact, before that happened at that party, one of the guys said they were making fun of me for being a virgin. I was a virgin.
Oh my god.
So I don't know if that was like a dare or what it might have been that just coincidentally happened that same
Yeah.
day, night.
Yeah.
So that's my
That
little
sounds like
story
something guys would do at that time. Ugh.
back in the 80s, early 80s.
Yeah, that's horrifying. Ugh. Well, I kicking ass. What you have to stop apologizing for? I
Did you ever
mean,
get beat up?
um, no, I never really got beat up. I did hit somebody.
Oh.
I hit Rhonda Sutton because I mean, she started it. She was kind of like, she kind of grabbed me and she was trying to
Hmm.
pull me. I was in a car. She was like trying to pull me out of the car. And I just like reached up. Maybe I was just even just trying to get her away, but I just like reached up and hit
Oh
her in
my
the mouth.
gosh.
She had it
Wow.
like bloody, and I have written about this, so you might be seeing a story soon on Substack. But um, it was like
We
a
could do a
whole high
collaboration the
school
times
thing.
that you
Yeah,
beat people up, I got beat up.
it was just like a whole drama. But yeah, so I hit her, and then she went to my house. She went to my mom's house, and I wasn't home, and she like told my mom that I beat her up and all this stuff. And so when I
Oh,
got home, my mom was like yelling at me. I was
oh
like,
my
"Ah."
gosh.
But it was like such an ordeal because but some people had seen it because it was in like a kind of a popular restaurant.
In a
But
restaurant.
yeah, it was in the Taco John's parking lot, so it was like
Okay.
where we all hung out. But by the time I got to school, the next Monday, it was just like had spread all over, and I was like suddenly
Hmm.
the person who kicked Rhonda Sutton's ass, and it was just such a classic like high
Watch out for
school
Michelle.
situation. It was really funny, but it was
Oh
fun to
my
write
God.
about it. I love writing about high school stuff because it's so like
Hmm.
so colorful and like our mindsets at that time were just so different.
Oh yeah.
So dramatic.
And naive. At least I was naive.
Yeah, it was crazy. So was this piece that you're writing? Have you already written it or you just
I have not written that one yet.
yeah
It's in I have a list 10 miles long of little stories. So that's one of them. And
yeah? How do
it'll
you
be
choose?
sometime, maybe this summer.
Yeah, how do you decide? Like I noticed one of your recent stories was that story about being a marathon, like working at the gas station, the marathon gas station.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, having a
Um,
first job is that's a classic one to write about, but I guess you
no,
got
that
fired.
was one of many jobs. I almost wrote it about like including other jobs I had, but I didn't
Yeah,
want to make it. I'm trying to make my posts a little shorter so they're,
yeah,
you know, I don't want to, I want them, I don't need to write about every single job I had because I did have some interesting jobs. I can write another other ones about other
yeah.
jobs,
You
but
have a series,
um,
the
I
jobs.
don't know. I was playing around with I don't I feel like I need a system, but at the same time, I just kind of think about like what do I feel like writing about? And the
Yeah.
one before that was about making prank phone calls in
Oh, I
sixth
remember that.
grade.
That's good.
Yeah, in both instances, I was involved. The police were involved, so that's kind of so they kind of tied together in that way. Now people are going to think I'm a criminal,
That's funny.
but yeah, so I it just kind of came to mind. Plus, there was a really I had to wear a uniform, and it was this blue jumpsuit with the marathon logo on it, and it was like the hottest outfit I had owned up to that point because I lived in a farm town and I was so skinny and my clothes probably fit a little loose on me and I didn't know what the hell I was doing with fashion.
Yeah.
And this was like almost like its own fashion statement. This jumpsuit, it fit really well and it really did turn heads and I'm like, "Whoa, I guess I'm kind of sexy after all."
You're wearing it to school. I have to work later.
Yeah. So yeah, so I just, and I was playing around with it on creating the image of myself today wearing that jumpsuit. So I kind of blended it. I wish I still had that damn thing.
I know.
I wish I would
Actually
have kept
saw
it.
it. I looked at that post. I was like, "Wow, did she still have?" And I realized it was probably like an AI thing,
Yeah,
but
it was. It was.
it's good though. Oh,
Yeah, I
that's
gotta, it's crazy what AI can do with photos.
yeah,
Absolutely crazy. So, what were
yeah.
we talking about?
I don't know. With the lost track. Oh, we were talking about times we got our asses kicked or
Oh, yeah.
kicked ass, but yeah, I think I don't know. I my high school self, I just had a lot more like I had a chip on my shoulder, so it
Mm.
doesn't surprise me that I I punched her for sure.
I
I
was
got my
very
thing.
quiet, but still a rebel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, did you grow up in Indiana or in Illinois? Like a small town?
Yes,
Yeah.
my parents grew up in the Chicago area. My dad actually grew up in Chicago. Um, and we lived out in the suburbs, not too far from the city. And they decided in 1974, when I was 9 years old, I'm dating myself right now, that
Mhm.
we'd move out to the country. That is a post I've written about. So I became like a wallflower. I just never felt like I fit in. People made fun of me when I first moved there. Um, and I was skinny and then anxious from all the sugar I ate. I drank a lot of soda too, but anyway, um so yeah, that's also why I didn't really have a fashion sense. What people wore there were jeans, a t-shirt or sweatshirt and a pair of Nikes.
Yeah,
That's what people wore.
that's the
Unlike
fashion statement.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I had no idea what fashion was.
Yeah.
Except for, when the Sears catalog would show up and I'd look at that and pick out outfits I would wear someday. Not
Oh
exactly
Lord.
real fashionable either, the Sears
Yeah.
catalog.
No. No. I mean, the kids do have it a lot easier now. I mean, they just have
Mhm.
YouTube and seeing so many different images. I mean, it's I guess a blessing and a curse in some ways. But
Yeah,
well, we'll just skip the rolling. Maybe we'll just hit the last two. So this one, I think, roll kind of is a segue, or what we've just said segues into it. That's identity, like what you had to leave home to learn. So what you just said, kind of
everything.
fits. Yeah,
I mean, farm town, sheltered, very quiet, not confident. I mean, I started coming into my own a little bit, I guess, senior year of high school after my braces came off and I could tame my hair a little bit. Oh my God, the pictures I have. That's another post I'm going to do about my hair, different hairstyles. But just even like I was so shy that my one uh, friend in college was telling me I should look people in the eye when I talk to them. That's how shy I was. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I also didn't understand about what hugs were. My family was not affectionate at all, but people, hugged and, you know,
yeah,
things like that, friends and everything. And I didn't know of that either when I was living out in the farm town. So, um, yeah, so I think I gained confidence leaving. I mean, it took a while because it just did. But, awkward.
yeah,
I had my awkward 20s, you could call it, and a lot of drinking and all of that. But
yeah,
But leaving there was an eye opener because I went to a school that it was a private college and a lot of people with money. And here I am in my, striped polo tee from Farm and
weird.
Fleet and my cut off, you know, overalls. That's what I wore to go through Rush the first time.
Oh
So
wow.
so I also learned fashion to a certain
Where
degree,
was
but
what was your school? What school did you go to?
Bradley
Have you?
University in
Oh,
Peoria, Illinois.
oh, okay. Well, Peoria.
Hmm.
Is that big town or no? It's pretty
Peoria
small.
is, a decent sized town, but the schools at that time, I think there were about 6,000 students there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good size. I mean,
Yeah, nice
it's
little
good.
size.
Yeah. Yeah, I left home. I moved out when I was 18. I went to college in the same town that I grew up in, but I had to move out. Like I had a job, and I was just like dying to be independent.
Hmm.
So I remember I moved into this apartment and I had the rent was like $300 a month. I mean, it was, but I
Mhm.
still had roommates because that was really expensive. But but yeah, when I finally left, like left my actual town, it's like I took such a big step, right? I was from Kansas. I went to
Kansas. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to college, University of Kansas. I moved to Kansas City, and then I had a job. I was working, so I worked for like 2 years, and then I just decided that I wanted to move abroad. So I left.
Cool.
I left the country. I went to Ecuador, and and I was gone for like 15 years. Like I just was
Wow.
like, I'm
That's
just staying
amazing.
gone,
And I
right?
never left Illinois, for God's sakes. What an adventure.
Yeah, and it was like the whole time I was. I mean, that's kind of what my memoir is about. Like the whole time I was traveling and, living abroad, I would just like I thought that I was just sort of like escaping this existence that I had in Kansas and like whatever my demons were there, and like somehow just by being away, like being out into the world,
Mhm.
that would just shape me into someone else. Like I shouldn't have to like do any effort or self help. I just, just by virtue of leaving, somehow I was just going to become a different person. And
Mhm.
so I wasn't very self directed, and I think the person I became was just very much um, an outgrowth of what I did, which was party and drink and
Mhm.
travel and have adventures, which was fun. But it like I finally realized that I had like that internal moment where I realized I had to take some control of myself and my life if I
Mhm.
wanted to have like something more meaningful than this sort of like nomadic existence, which suited me for a while. But I
Well,
just
and
there
that
was a
takes a lot of courage to just leave the country. I mean,
yeah, it
that
did. I mean,
never
I
even
think.
crossed my mind to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing of like I'm kind of odd because like I can make big decisions like that pretty easily,
Mhm.
but then I will just like fret and about over little decisions, which is just a really weird character trait of mine. But but yeah, I think I learned from just being so far away from home, and so separated from things that I grew up with and what I knew was just that you really can never escape like what has made you. It
Mhm.
it comes with you,
Right.
and the best you can do is really like accept that and then and integrate whatever wherever else you are, whatever else you're doing into that.
Mhm.
Don't try to stifle it or deny it or whatever. And I think I didn't really get that either until like I went back to Kansas,
Okay.
and I started to value it. I started to see the value in the sunset and the sunflowers, and it just was kind of a reawakening. But I had to leave and then come back
Mhm.
for that to happen. So
Love that.
yeah, yeah, we're working on almost an hour here, so maybe we'll just wrap up. This the last one is the lie you told yourself the longest, but I don't know if you want to answer it or not. The lie you told yourself the longest.
Um, well, what would that be? I don't know, like maybe I think this is probably what a lot of people or a lot of women maybe feel like you're not just being good enough.
Mhm.
Um I don't know how it didn't last until my age now. I don't say that to myself now, but probably into my 20s, I probably felt that way. And was it a lie? It was just a perception that I just didn't probably because of my lack of confidence that I felt like I was never good enough.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at my thing. Do you think that's evolved?
Oh yeah, I mean,
That-
it crosses my mind occasionally, like it's human nature, I think, to compare yourself to other people. And as I've gotten, my husband likes to say, as I've gotten younger,
Yeah.
I've gotten smarter. That there's it's just kind of like you are. who you are and you do the best that you can. And um, I'm happy with, what I've become. And but yeah, sometimes I'm still like, shoot, what the hell am I doing with my life? That's not necessarily about being good enough, but am I doing enough?
Yeah.
I didn't work. I dabbled while I was raising my son. Um, and then when I got divorced, I had to go back to the workforce. And I left the workforce as a vice president of account services at a small privately owned advertising company.
Yeah.
And then when I had to go back to work, even though I was dabbling in different things that were, I mean, they were all over the board. It wasn't a consistent thing. Everything
Yeah.
from marketing consulting for a documentary filmmaker to my last gig was being a sidekick on the Green Divas podcast and coming up with segments and
Oh, cool.
writing on that blog and other online magazines and things like that. But going back into like a traditional job in marketing, I started from almost like ground zero. And I also just wasn't as like, you know, I didn't feel like a go-getter like I was.
Yeah.
It was more of a job, but I also I feel like I just lost so much knowledge. So much had changed. Hell, when I left, we weren't even doing email marketing yet. We had just started designing websites.
Yeah.
So again, I'm aging myself, but so
Yeah.
then I'm like, wow, I really don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore. And I did as best that I could, but and then I got laid off during COVID and I haven't
Yeah.
worked since because then at that point I'm like 55 and who's hiring a 55-year-old? Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially
Discovered that
since
now.
my career had arced way in the past and here I am just trying to like get a job. And so
Yeah.
it's sometimes is a struggle in that way. It's not necessarily um that I'm not good enough. It's just like I feel like, especially because my husband is like, he's basic, I'm saying like a lot, like I'm
Yeah.
from the
Like, you're so California.
hello. He's a workaholic basically. And he has a very demanding job, and hearing him talk to his clients, it's like, wow, he just, and probably you have a scientist for a husband, but
Yeah.
hearing him talk and just his depth of knowledge, and he's been doing it for his entire, career, 40 years in this industry. And I hear him talking and he's just on top of things. And I'm more like, well, I guess I'm going to do some writing now. So I don't feel like I'm doing enough, so
Yeah. I know what you mean.
because I'm constantly comparing myself to what he's doing. He's like providing for our household. He's working his ass off. And
Yeah.
I'm over here like, gee, I think I'll go to yoga now.
Yeah.
But not even, I don't feel like I'm as able to fit in as many things and I'm not as organized as I used to be. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on that. And granted, I had my aging parents to deal with and all of that. Now that phase is, I'm wrapping up still some loose ends, but I am trying to get back on track of like having more intention when I start the day and not just fumbling through it was kind of how I feel is what I'm doing currently. Kind
Yeah.
of fumbling through the day and then it's all of a sudden time for lunch and then it's time to clean the kitchen, then it's time for dinner, and then it's time for bed and I start all over again. It's like, what do I have to show for it? Well, I have my Substack, so there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's hard to live in this society and this culture that is so, about hustle and validation and showing like what do you have to show for your life.
Hmm.
And when people like you and people like us like that are creatives like take a step back and actually start doing something that we love. I mean, I think there's a real um I don't know, like risk of us just thinking it's not important. But it is important and it takes a lot of courage to um, kind of embrace that who you
Hmm.
are and write and publish, and have a plan for your writing. I mean, that's a lot. That's more than most people do, right? Who
Yeah.
have this sort of like artistic desire that's sort of like hidden in the closet.
Hmm.
But
True. True.
um, So, I mean, I know I'm not working right now either, and it is, I'm looking for a job, and I agree. Like, it's kind of, I'm 55, so I think I've put out some resumes, and I'm like, I haven't even gotten a call back, and I'm like,
Oh,
they're doing the math.
yeah, right.
They're looking at the year I graduated from college, and doing the math, and
Hmm.
so I mean, I kind of secretly hope I don't get a job because it's not really a
Yeah,
secret since I'm
I'm
saying,
glad I don't have one, quite
yeah,
honestly. Like, I'll realize in the morning, hey, I don't have to go to work. Why am I feeling stressed out? Because I've got to do the kitchen, I got to do my, what's wrong with me? That's the direction
yeah,
my mind goes, trying to
yeah,
get a different perspective on that, hey, man, I'm 61. That's retirement age for a lot of people. So,
yeah.
you know,
And you are making, um like, you have a role in your household that your
mhm.
husband couldn't do. So I mean, you're working in the household, and you're contributing in a way that is very valuable, and valuable to him. Otherwise, he probably would tell your ass to get a job.
Right.
I mean,
This is
you're
true.
more valuable to him at home than, I mean, he could say, hey, why don't you get a job and start contributing? But he's not,
Hmm.
so I would take that as a sign. And you are, like, you're contributing, like, you have your Substack, you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur or whatever they call it
Yes,
now.
I make
Right?
$500 a year with my Substack.
We're rich. I know.
Watch out for me, people.
I know. All right. Well, we're kind of winding down. It's almost an hour, but I'll just kind of wind down by saying thank you to everyone who's shown up here today, and maybe just give us a little bit of, like, where people can find you on, obviously, your Substack, and any, like, projects you have coming up, or things you want people to know about.
Well, Lynn J. Broderick, you can see it on your screen there. That's who I am on Instagram also, if you ever feel
Hmm.
like going to Instagram. But I will just be continuing to write. Eventually I'll write about my getting beat up.
Yes,
I think that
you heard it here first.
you heard it here first. Don't tell anybody. It's a secret. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep writing. I'm gonna promise to write that this summer. And I'm going to be collaborating actually with Marlena on a piece that's about memory,
Oh,
and
nice.
getting together with her live. I think it's May 26th, I want to say. I'm going to be
Nice.
on live with John Ronaldo on Monday, and also I think another day next week. But I don't know if that's a podcast, maybe. All of a sudden I'm doing all these lives
Look
at the
at
end of the month.
you doing all the publicity. It's the
Watch
tour.
out.
It's so fun. I feel like Substack is like its own little universe, like its own little
It really
ecosystem.
is. Yeah. It's
We're all
cool.
like
Very
David
cool.
Letterman over here, having our own little talk shows.
I know, right? It's funny. It really is.
It is. It's amazing. Well, and I'm Michelle Ray, and I'm glad that you came on. I feel like, even though we had a different kind of format, I think
Oh,
a
it was
lot
a
of the
fun format.
things,
I loved it.
yeah, it was good. And I think a lot
Different.
of the things I wanted to know about you kind of came out, in even a
Hmm.
more fun way. So, yeah, join Lynn on her Substack, and me on my Substack, and yeah, you'll
You
be
want
seeing
to
both of
be
us
my
around.
seventh paid subscriber?
Yes, I know. I have I have 7 paid
No, you don't
subscribers
have to.
too, but one of
Oh,
them's my
good.
husband, and one of
I
them's my
know.
mom,
Same.
and one of them's
Actually,
my
my mom, she's dead, but she is also a subscriber.
there you go.
I
In
don't think she's getting the
perpetuity.
emails, but maybe she is.
Yeah, maybe, you never know. And then I'll be doing a live on Sunday with Lupe I. Tucker, who is a
Mm.
woman that I've known forever. I used to work with her in Ecuador
Oh,
25 years ago, but she is a poet. And yeah, we're going to be talking about poetry, and how poetry can just be a really cool, accessible way to write, and to
cool.
include in your Substack. So hope you can join us. Hope you all can join us. And yeah, thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks,
Yeah, take
everybody.
care. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Take care.